Good morning, everyone. And here we are going to talk about one important session, that is classroom management. Since we all here are teachers, and this is a day to day life circle for us, we need to go to classes and we need to take some sessions with the students. And how do we manage those sessions that changes the entire outcome? How well everything is organized, how well students are taking part in the session, and what outcomes we are achieving, not just by the end of the semester, but everyday session. What outcomes we are achieving that makes a great difference in the overall learning experience of the students. So about this topic, I just expect that we all can interact throughout the session, because currently as well we are in a classroom. Even if it is online, still we are in a classroom. And I must say that this classroom management, we cannot say that there is a universal technique that anyone can follow to manage a class, because this is a situational thing that we all need to handle creatively, and more important, with patience. Every day when you start a session, you have a new situation, you have a different topic, and maybe a unique audience, depending upon how many semesters you are teaching, what kind of students you are teaching. And even every semester you get new students, so every time you have to create a new scenario for them to make them able to understand the subject more efficiently. So, in order to be more effective with this particular session, it would definitely be better if we can engage throughout the session. You can, I may ask something in between. You may also respond in between, maybe by using chat or maybe by using your mic. You can interact in between. So, first of all, I'll be sharing my screen with all of you so that we can start the session. And because I told you that there is no universal way to manage a classroom, but still, being a teacher, we all have our own way to do this. And we all have different experiences to deal with the students, depending upon what kind of audiences we get in our sessions. So, based on that, definitely we can share our experiences in this session as well. So, classroom management we are talking about, and there are different scenarios you may find. The scenario that teachers expect, where all students are responsive, they raise hands when you ask questions, they respond well, they behave well, and they are well mannered. So many expectations as a teacher we may have. But this is not an ideal situation all the time, because we may get something like this as well. Irrespective of which generation you are teaching, whether you are teaching ITI students, diploma, graduation, masters, you may have different scenarios in the classroom. So, a switch between our expectation and what we are getting actually, that we have to manage, and we have to fill in the gap within this scenario, and how we can deal with this, that we can discuss throughout the session here. The very first thing, definitely, we have experienced a variety of lectures throughout our life. Even if today we are teachers, sometime we were students, and at that time we have seen our teachers at how they used to manage the entire class. And definitely a teacher who was good with subject as well as had a good relationship with the student was the favorite for all of the students out there. This has been observed generation after generation. When we are a student, we do not just expect our teacher to be proficient with the subject, but at the same time we want them proficient with the behavioral stats as well as their relation, their personal level interaction with the students. So we have seen some classrooms are well managed by the teachers effortlessly, And of course, several others are not so managed. And we all know that how these things go. So this disruptive behavior, as I have shown you in image as well earlier, this is not always expected. Diverse learning needs of the students. Definitely, we'll talk about this. Definitely, sir. Thank you for posing this question in the chat box. We'll talk about this throughout the session as well. Since we are talking about first, because classroom management, it starts with your class, the students that we have in the environment and how they are behaving. You might have seen in movies a variety of dramatic students. Bollywood movies, you may see several dramatic students, but of course, that is not the real scenario in our classrooms. But yes, when we have poor classroom management, it is going to put more stress and more burnout rate on the teacher. So you are likely to take that frustration to your life, to your after your work hours as well. So definitely we need to take care of ourselves as well as a teacher while managing our students well. And while working on this, definitely a teaching is a constant learning process. We cannot learn all this in one day. This is not a single day work. Every day we get different set of students. Every semester we get a new generation, and depending upon what kind of subject you are teaching or what kind of students you have in your class, you may always have to follow a different approach. Sometimes we have very proactive students in a class, and in the same class you will find shy and introvert students as well. And in the same class you are going to find some students who are least bothered about what a teacher is doing in the class. So that differences in the classroom environment is always present, but how we are going to bring them all to the same level to deliver our best possible knowledge, so that it can be fruitful for them at least at some stage of their life. That is the main purpose of a teacher. And one more challenge that we are facing right now. Okay, before I disclose, because you all are teacher, just ping me in the chat box what is the biggest challenge that you face while teaching current generations. Irrespective of what kind of subjects you are teaching or whatever you have, what is the biggest challenge that you find while talking to your students or while having a class? You can put that in the chat box quickly. Diverse student levels, definitely one of the biggest issues we have. How to make the topic interesting and ignite student curiosity, definitely a big concern we have. Anyone else? Irregular in class, right? How to engage larger groups? Yes, lack of discipline among students, use of mobile, lack of ambition. Definitely, we are into a tech-friendly generation. Complete their task. Okay. Yes, that is definitely going to be a big challenge. We got several types of responses, and thanks for all of those who responded at least. Yes, AI is the biggest threat right now for the students. If we talk about the difference that we had when we were the students and the difference that we are observing as a teacher, the biggest threat is posed by the technology. We must say that we can accept, although even if we are into the technology background, even if we are already teaching into the tech side and we always talk about the benefits of the technology, but definitely there are some drawbacks as well, and that we experience in the classroom environment. The very big threat, every student is carrying a mobile phone to the college campus, to the classroom, and it is difficult to stop them from using their mobile phones in the classroom environment, especially when you have a larger group. that is also mentioned as a challenge by some of you. And the second biggest issue, or we can say even the first biggest issue, the AI, the prominent use of AI by the student at present. They are looking forward for some chat GPT help to complete their assignments, and it sometimes even gets difficult for the teachers to track if they are using certain tools or not. And one more thing you all have mentioned is like diverse student and in the large groups and how we are going to manage them. So definitely all these things we need to talk one by one. And moving ahead with very first thing, when we were students, we saw our teachers to have well organized sessions. Assignments were clear, lectures, classroom discussions were focused and interesting, and the teacher who follows this kind of perspective was the favorite of all the students. But how we are going to foster that environment when we have all these challenges added into the scenario? Because few years ago these challenges were not there, and biggest point was at that time students used to respect teachers. Even if a teacher just look at the student who is doing some unnecessary activity in the class, the students used to feel like punished, that we are caught by the teacher, and they itself used to stop doing all those unnecessary activities. But at present, even if teacher is saying it time and again, they are shouting time and again, still it is a very challenging task for them to control the students. So in this case, what we can do is, definitely when we are threatened by the technology, we need to take help also from the technology to engage everyone out there. When students are taking help from technology, we also somehow need to take help from the technology. We need to find modern ways to help students understand, help them build the leadership qualities, help them build good relationship with the peers as well as with the teachers out there. So there are plenty of gears that you can use for that. We'll discuss one by one about that also. And it is not just about preparing your classroom sessions. It is not just about organizing your assignments or the classworks or the homeworks for the students. At the same time, we have to plan a step ahead of that, because the current generation is highly active and they are more tech friendly in comparison to us, definitely, because even a little child knows what to operate in a mobile phone, how to get their videos, how to prevent things from getting caught from the elders. Everything they are learning from the school age. So in that scenario, when a teacher has like 50-60 students in the classroom environment, and keeping eyes on each one of them is definitely a challenging task. But definitely we need to find a way for that. So starting with the very first day in the class, when you start a semester, when you get a new batch of the students, how we can start? Because we all know first impression makes a difference. Several times as a new teacher, what we try to do is we try to be rude in the class. This is experience of several teachers. Many of you may agree. When we start our first session as a new teacher or with a new batch, many of teachers start being rude in the class, so that the students become fearful and they do not make noise, unnecessary noise, and they do not create noises in the classes. But that is not a right way to deal with the students, definitely, because being rude is not going to solve our problem. Even if we are just being aggressive on them, even if we are just punishing them on the small things, and if we are just being loud to the students, that is not going to build their character as per our expectation. Rather, they are going to be like more deprived, or they will be more like we can do anything, or teacher is always going to shout, so let us not bother about it. And that is going to create a negative scenario for us. So we need to build our classroom scenario right from the first day. And now my another question, all of you can respond in the chat box. What you expect or what you do when you enter in a new classroom for the first time? What activities you prefer to do over there? How you start interacting with the students? What are your first day preferences? I will look forward for the responses in the chat box. Yes, introduction. To provide them brief overview of the subject. Anyone else? Objective scope. Okay. More responses. Understanding student background, definitely very good. So we all are getting solutions among us here. Rules and regulations of the institute, definitely that is also an important part. So we all are helping each other right now, just to understand that what are the possibilities. Maybe some of us are not aware about the things that we are getting in the chat box, and we can maybe incorporate them in future to make our classes more effective. So we got several suggestions, and they are all very fine, I must say. Definitely, we need to think about all these things, and this is the best way to build up a class scenario. So when this is your first day in the class, we need to establish an effective environment for the first day. And how we can do that? The very first thing, introduce yourself. Most of the time we focus on taking introduction of the students. That is also a part, that is also fine, depending upon how big your class is and what kind of backgrounds your students we have. We definitely need to get their introduction, but at the same time you need to introduce yourself as well, so that your students can also know you, and they can understand your background, they can understand how they can communicate with you. Your expectations from the students, it should not be like a rule book every time. It should be like a friendly conversation where you are telling them that what you hold from your background, and what you are here to deliver, and how you are going to help them with a specific subject that you are going to teach them. We need to do interactions with the students, and we need definitely some ice breaking questions over there, because when you have a new classroom, for students also this is a new experience. They are going to learn a new subject and from a new teacher, or maybe in a new institute as well. So this is a new experience for them as well as for a teacher. So we need some ice breaking round on the first day. We need to give them time to relax, to understand the environment, to understand each other as well. Even if you consider that the first day of your class is going to be like a waste because you are not teaching your subject directly, but this first day interaction is going to build your relationship with the students, and it is going to be fruitful for the entire semester. So this initial interaction plays an important role, especially to understand the background of your students. And even when you start introducing yourself and you get introduction of your students, you slightly come to know that what kind of nature they have. Right from the introduction, we come to know how many students are proficient in expressing themselves, how many of them feel shy while expressing themselves. Because when a student is asked to talk about him or her, at that time only a teacher can understand how well they are in expressing themselves. And this is the thing we need to learn as a teacher first. Once you are able to identify that which students are good or effective in their communication skills and which one need more support from your side, you can at least break a barrier between different kind of students in your classroom. Because sometimes what happens, some students are very proactive in the classroom and some are shy and introvert, they are not so fast in responding, but we start expecting all of them to behave same as the proactive students, and this is where we miss the chance to connect the entire group. We need to give them time, especially to those who are shy and introvert or who are not good in expressing. Instead of taking the pace of students who are very fast or very active learners, we sometimes need to take the pace of the slow learners or the shy students. We need to find ways to help them come out of their uh, what we can say is their shyness, or if they have some like feeling of being not confident while saying something in the entire class. We need to project those things very well. We need to bring them all to the same level. And definitely on the first day, you will find some students coming late. Sometimes they get lost in campus. Sometimes they are not so willing to attend classes, and sometimes they are occupied in the canteen. This is a common scenario we all can see in the colleges, universities. It is common to see students coming late, especially during the first few days of your classes. But you have to establish a set of rules for this that are not so strict but not so lenient. We have to balance those rules. And we'll talk about that also, that how we can set up those rules. After interacting with the students, we need to take some time to review the syllabus and emphasize on the important aspects of the subject that you are teaching to them. One biggest mistake that teachers several times make in their classes, they start teaching a topic directly. They just come with some presentations, PPTs, and they start playing it, and then they just put everything in a single classroom, and they, without having an idea whether students are ready to grasp that huge amount of content or not. The best way you can start with a new topic or with a new subject is, first let your students understand how a particular subject or a topic is useful for them. And this is very surprising to observe that several times, even after completing a semester, students have no idea that what is the practical utilization of a specific subject that they have studied throughout the semester. And this is where we are putting a gap between their knowledge. The very first task for every teacher is to help students understand what is the use of the subject that they are learning, where in future they may apply it, and how it may be useful in their life. That is the main purpose of learning, of course. And at the same time, as a teacher, we need to understand that a specific subject may not be interesting to all the students in the classroom. That is also a fact that we need to understand. Maybe if we have 6 subjects in a particular semester, it is not necessary that any of the one subject or all the 6 subjects will be favorite of all the students in your classroom. There will always be a variation. As a teacher, we cannot always expect our student to perform well in all the subject, and that is a basic human nature that we also need to understand. But yes, still, what is our main job in that case? Definitely, as a teacher, you have some responsibilities. You need to bring out good results. You need to achieve the course outcomes. All those things are on our shoulders. So this is now our responsibility, that how we can make things look interesting to the students, so that even if the subject doesn't become their favorite, they still do not run away from the subject. That level of interest we need to impart, and that is possible only if we help them understand the practical utilization of the subject, and if we can connect it with their interest rates, then only they will stay aware about learning that subject, then only they will stay active for learning that particular subject. And at the same time, in order to build student engagement, we need to also help them understand the learning outcomes of that particular subject. What is the expectation as a teacher and as a curriculum, what they have to meet by the end of the semester? That idea also definitely they need to have. And what will be the class format? Because every teacher have a different class format, and we need to describe this to our student, that what kind of class format we follow. So if you are a teacher who always love to teach students by using presentations, PowerPoint presentations, so you can just tell them that this is my approach and this is how we are going to learn. And you can even take their feedbacks if they are comfortable with this kind of learning or not. Because sometimes as a teacher, we need to flip our techniques as well. We need to find different ways to interact with the students. It is not always possible to engage students with a one-way communication that we can have through presentations. Sometimes we need to use different ways. Maybe sometimes we use whiteboard, sometimes we use audio video systems. Variety of things are there. So we can definitely discuss class format in an open manner. We can present our viewpoint that this is the way we are going to teach, and we can also take feedback from the students that what is their preferred way of learning. And you will definitely get a variety of responses from your students, although it may not be possible to accommodate all of those suggestions, but at least you will be aware that how they are going to learn the best, because they have also attended several classes in the past. Maybe their school level they have attended, their high school they have attended, so they might have studied several things over there. That is why they have reached up to the college. They might have studied several things. At some point in time, there might be some favorite subject for all of them, and that sometimes connects them to the teacher who taught that subject to them. So there are always some factors that help students to connect with the subject, and that factor we need to bring out, and we need to establish that connection with the students. And of course, as a teacher, we also need to tell them the expected behavior in the class. Instead of being directly a rude teacher to your student, we can at least tell them that what kind of behavior we expect from them. And also, we can have an open discussion about this, because they are at a growing stage. We have young students in our classrooms. They are going to become maybe a teacher in future, or maybe a businessman in future. They have their own perspectives for their life. So we can establish the common behavioral aspects, and we can help them understand what is good and bad. See, as a teacher, our responsibility is not just about a subject, not just about bringing results from a subject. Teaching is a very noble profession, and we are responsible for building characters in upcoming generations. That is the major or the moral responsibility of a teacher: building characters among our coming generations. Students who come to us, we need to develop a fine, we can say, a behavioral skill in them. Their attitude we need to build up, and it takes time. Every day we have to put up new examples in front of them, and they learn from our characters. Whatever we present to them, the same they are going to learn with time. And of course, we can talk about what kind of weekly arrangements we will follow, how many classes we are going to have in a week, how we are going to organize the theoretical sessions, how we are going to talk about practical sessions, what will be the course overview, and how we are going to manage every important topic in the curriculum. And of course, we can also talk about how you are going to assess them, because assessment is also an important thing. You can talk to them that, okay, I'll be running some quizzes weekly, I will be giving some assignments weekly. These are the additional things that you can add into. We'll talk about this also further. And after this, we come to the community rules. Some of you have already given this option in this problem as a challenge in your chat box. Students always carry mobile phones, laptops, and it gets difficult to engage them while they are busy on their phone, just scrolling on the social media. And as a teacher, we get stuck over there. But definitely, right from the first day in the class, we need to set a community rule. And note that these rules should not come from a teacher's side. Rather, students need to participate while building these rules. You will see this technique being followed in several organizations, educational institutions in the foreign countries as well, where teachers and students take part actively to set up their community rules, that how they will be utilizing their phones or laptops in the classroom. And of course, other problems also we have, like sleeping, eating, and late arrivals or early departures in the classroom. We can set up a democratic approach to help students deal with all these problems. And as a teacher, we definitely can sort it out easily when we take their collaboration in this. So instead of building your own rule book, let your students build the rule book, and then definitely they are going to follow it, because the rule book is maintained by them. You just need to guide them that what is right and wrong, and they will build a better rule book, and they will definitely follow it over time. And then we definitely need to learn names of the students, because anonymity discourages student engagement. You will observe this in your classes as well. If you interact with certain set of students less, sometimes it happens with all of us, like some proactive students are there in the class and we are more engaged with them, and we sometimes forget to interact with the shy or introvert students, and we start feeling that maybe they don't know anything and we cannot ask them anything. So that negative behavior sometimes gets developed in the teachers also. But the main problem is that disconnection between those shy students and the teacher. We somehow need to find ways to engage with them. Even if they don't know anything, we need to find ways to talk to them. Even if they are giving wrong answers, still we need to interact with them so that they at least learn to respond, at least learn to engage when there are some important discussions going on. And for this, the best way is to learn their names. You might have observed this in your school or in your college days also. A teacher who knows your name very well, you are always very respectful to that teacher, because you know that he knows me personally. And if I do anything wrong, he is going to call me from my name directly. So that sense of respect is also ignited, or we can say this is a negative motivation also for the student. Like they have a threat that that teacher may call me from my name directly if I do something wrong. And for us, this is a way to connect to the student. When we can call them by name, we can easily discuss things with them, and they feel more responsible when they are personally known by a teacher. The consistent interactions that we need to follow after this. Once you have established your first day regulations, once you have established your rule book, once you have established the connection with the subject or with the curriculum that you are going to teach, with the syllabus, the next part is we need to ensure that we interact with the students regularly. You might have seen several teachers in your life who just enter in their classroom, they just open up their PPT and they just start teaching. And students feel disconnected in such scenarios. We can follow a slightly different way. Like maybe if you have a 1 hour lecture or maybe 1.5 hour lecture, let us divide it into different sections. When you enter in the class, the first thing you need to do is just interact with your students, just a friendly interaction with them. Sometime just about a talk about the previous day session. Sometime maybe you can talk about the assignment that you have given to them recently. Just a friendly talk, not like a very rude talk, like how many of you have done assignment. These things are outdated now. The current generations do not follow this kind of culture. So we as a teacher also need to change our behavior. Just a brief casual conversation with them, maybe just talking about the homework. Even if some of them have not done the homework, we still have an opportunity to discuss with them that what problems they might have faced to complete their homework. Maybe they are stuck somewhere and they need our help, but they are shy to ask. Maybe there is some other problem that they are facing that we are not aware about and we need to help them. Maybe some of them are not having adequate set of notes or books and they are not connected with the right set of resources. So as a teacher, we need to help them. And other best way you can have, even if you are not feeling it good that I have to interact directly about all the things, you can even start with some discussions among the students itself. Maybe you can give them a group activity for first 5-10 minutes, like talking about the topic that they have discussed yesterday. So any of them, they can just have discussions with each other, and some of them can just come up on the stage and they can just talk about what learnings they have carried from the previous day session and how they feel to connect it with today's session, so that the interest stays over there. And one more benefit of this you will have. What will be that? Because if the student knows that when the teacher will enter the class, they are going to ask or they are going to discuss about the previous day topic, every day your students will be more active in classroom. Why? Because they know that we have to discuss this next day. Just to increase their retention spans, you can follow this approach. And of course, because students are attending multiple sessions a day, and definitely they also get tired, we also get tired while teaching several subjects a day. So we just need a friendly conversation in the beginning to help them relax and to start into a new zone of the subject in comparison to what they have studied in the previous session. So that connectivity we need to establish. And when you ask questions, now here comes another challenge. Several times as a teacher, when we ask questions, we just expect our student to respond immediately. But this is not always the case. Sometimes they need few seconds, few minutes to understand what has been asked and in order to respond to that. And sometimes it is even better to help them have discussion with their peers before responding to your question. If they are stuck with some critical question, just allow them 2 minutes to discuss it with their peers, and they can just have a communication about the topic, and then maybe they will come out with a more productive outcome. They will have a better idea. And even after that, if they are not understanding the concept, it is our responsibility again to cover up the concept. So what from this just short discussion that I had, how many benefits we are having from here? See, one is we are having a light conversation with the students and we are getting friendly with them and they are going to build a trust on their teacher. Another benefit we are going to have, we are going to revise the session from the previous day and we are going to learn how well students have understood whatever we have taught yesterday. Third thing, if your students have not understood anything from the previous session, you are immediately going to know that. And you know that I have to repeat something because some of the students are not aware about the thing that we have discussed yesterday. And you will also come to know that if certain students were absent yesterday, who are present today, and they are not able to now understand the next topic because it had a connectivity with the previous topic, that difference also you will understand. And you will find better ways to deal with that. Maybe some students were genuinely absent yesterday. So maybe you can create a group activity over there and you can just give time to the students who have already understood the previous day topic to discuss it with the students who were absent yesterday. So we need to build a connection between students as well as connection of students with us, so that they feel free to ask when they are stuck with something. It is a common observation, several studies have shown this, that if a teacher interact less with the student, or they do not have a casual conversation with their students, there is a gap between teacher and student. And even if the students have some difficulty in the subject, they feel difficult to ask it, they feel very terrified to ask from the teacher. But when you establish casual conversation every day, like for 5-10 minutes in the beginning of your session, it is going to help you in the long run. Maybe sometime you feel that if I spend like 5-10 minutes every day in my class for such kind of casual conversation, how I'm going to finish my syllabus. See, this is a long term process. Finishing syllabus is not that difficult. You can manage that easily with the given number of hours. But the more important part is whatever you are teaching to your student, they are grasping it and they are carrying it further to their life. It is not just about touching every topic in your syllabus directly. It is about making your students understand whatever you have taught. It should not go above their heads. It should be retained by their memory. It should be a part of their life cycle whenever they start into a specific journey with the subject. And then comes the most important part, making eye contact with as many students as possible during the class. When a teacher doesn't make eye contact with the students, students feel free to make noises in the class. They feel free to do some unnecessary activities. But when the eyes of the teacher is on all the students, and they make eye contact with majority of them, time to time, students feel connected. This is the like a normal human nature. You will observe this in normal conversations in your day-to-day life also. When you are talking to your friend, when you are talking to any of your family members, if they are not making eye contact with you, you are going to lose interest to say your words, as well as they feel not interested to listen to you. So that concept we need to apply in our classroom environment as well. We need to establish good eye contact with the teacher that reflects your confidence on the subject as well as on your teaching technique. And at the same time, your students get a connectivity with the teacher, and they feel that our teacher know us personally, and our teacher can ask about the subject to us, and a teacher can ask about the problems we are facing. So we have to be proactive throughout the session. The next part, we need to be specific about things. As a teacher, we cannot assume everything. And similarly, your students cannot assume everything that this is the specific behavior. See, we have like 5-6 different teachers in a specific semester. So students have to deal with 5-6 different teachers. Similarly, teachers have to deal with 50-60 different set of students. We cannot expect common behaviors from everyone. This is a universal truth. And as a teacher, we also need to learn that. We cannot expect a universal behavior from everyone. There is always a variation. But in order to control and manage our class, we need to be specific with the things. Like, we need to set up clear expectations. Instead of telling your students that you have to do this and that, or you have to be respectful to me, or you have to talk like this, not like that, just give them examples. Establish your character in front of them, and it will definitely be reflected in them as well. You will observe this. If we talk rudely to someone around us, it is going to affect our energy as well as their energy. And the people who are seeing us doing that behavior, their energies are also going to be affected. So as a teacher, we first need to build our positive character out there. So whenever you are talking to anyone around, how you talk to them, how you are respectful to them, what is your tone when you connect with your, or when you talk to your students, your colleagues, your subordinates in your institution, that is going to be reflected in all your students, and accordingly students are going to give you respect. When you are respectful to everyone, they are definitely going to respect you, because that is a common human nature we have everywhere. And even for the classroom environment, we can be specific about things that we can accept and cannot expect. First thing, can students disagree with the opinions of others? Definitely yes. As I told you, we cannot have a common opinion all the time. We should give them freedom to disagree from the opinions of each other, but there should be a way to convey that. Instead of shouting on each other, instead of being rude to each other, they need to have open discussions about the opinions that they have on a specific topic or a specific subject that we are teaching to them. Can they ask questions when you are lecturing? Many teachers follow an approach that they give students the freedom to interrupt any time in between when they are teaching. Several other teachers want students to just jot down the notes when they are teaching and just ask questions by the end of the sessions. Several teachers like students to ask questions next day. And the same perspective may be from the student side. Maybe some students feel it good that whenever they get something torturing in their mind, whenever they get a phrase in their mind, they want to ask it quickly. And maybe some of them are just free to ask it by the end of the session, and they feel relaxed to ask it by the end. We need to establish a culture for this. That is more important. If we just stop them while they are asking question, for the next time they will lose that confidence to ask question. Like when you are teaching something and your student interrupt you, and if you just be loud to them that why you are interrupting me in between, you can ask by the end. So that is going to lower down their confidence. So we need to be specific right in the beginning. We need to tell them what culture we have to follow. And I personally prefer that students should be given a freedom to ask their questions right when it appears in their mind. That is the best approach, I feel personally. Why? Because when we are teaching something, and if a student is stuck with something, if we keep on teaching further, but the student is stuck with the previous concept, he cannot understand anything after that, because the confusion has already arisen in his mind. So the first point should be to clear up that particular thing which is stuck in his mind, so that he can understand further concept easily. But it completely depends on what technique you follow. If you give them freedom to record the lecture, that also is a possible. Many organizations have started this trend. They have established recording systems in the classroom, so that if some students are absent in a particular class, they can get the recorded lectures later on. And this is more common in case of online sessions that sometimes we follow for different types of subjects. So all these freedoms you can discuss in advance. Instead of interrupting your students at any random point, just clear these expectations in the beginning, so that they can follow the same behavior and you do not have conflict in the classroom environment. And then about modeling an ideal behavior. This is about what you want to see or what you expect from the students. The same we have to reflect from our side as well. Teachers are always considered as role models for the students. Although over the years, the type of scenarios we are following in the educational system, the changes that we have experienced in the educational system, the bond between teachers and students has changed a lot over the years. But still, at some point, depending upon how we behave, how we demonstrate our behavior, that is somehow going to be reflected among our students. So we first need to build ourselves to be ready to create a positive environment in the classroom. And in order to do this, we need to use polite language all the time. Never ever get loud with your students, especially the current generation, which is like more uh, concerned about their self-esteem, more concerned about their freedom of words. This is the current generation's verbology that you will find. They are more concerned about themselves. So we cannot change that. This is a generation by generation change we are observing. But how we can build a connection? Being polite with your students, although sometimes they create so much of nuisance, sometimes they create so much of mess in the classroom. Yes, we get angry sometimes. That goes with the situation. But as much as possible, be polite with your students when you are asking question, when you are answering their questions. Sometimes what happens, a student asks some silly question, so it may come from their mind. Definitely, if they are stuck somewhere, they may ask some silly questions. But if you refuse to answer that question, or if you say that this is a very bad question, it is going to hamper their development. Even if it is a very bad question, at least they took courage to ask. That is the biggest thing we need to respect. And we need to answer it in the best possible manner so that we can give them confidence to ask a question again in future. At the same time, when you are talking to your students, keep your phone away, maybe in your pocket, maybe in your purse, because if you are using phone in the classroom, your students are going to follow the same behavior. So that you have to establish that thing. Or maybe every time when you start a session, you just put your phone on the table and announce it in the class that everyone please put your phone silent, and put it in your bag or table. So that can be a common behavior every day. You can establish that rule. So just a reminder for all your students that I have kept my phone on the table and you all are expected to do the same. Just build that culture. Similarly, let them speak uninterrupted, as I discussed recently. Because the biggest threat for students is not being able to speak up, because they have several doubts in their mind. As a kid or as a student, there are several things going on in their mind. So just give them freedom to ask. And when you have some conflicts in the class, raise the concerns in a respectful manner. Even if there is a debate going on, it should be in a respectful manner. Maybe if you are talking about some brainstorming, if there is certain debate related topic, there should be, the statement must be formed in a respectful manner, and it should start from your side. We cannot suppress a group, we cannot give more privilege to another group. We just have to create a balanced or a respectful behavior among all the categories out there. Then only they are going to flourish out of this out of the all challenges that they are facing. And we need to ensure that whenever we start something new, or whenever it is the first day of the semester, we need to set up everything. We need to start the discussion with a positive note at that time only. We need to set up the behavior, we need to set up the guidelines right in the beginning. And throughout the journey, for the entire semester, we can just talk about these guidelines time and again. Several colleges in the other universities outside India, they even prefer to create a rule book. That rule book is not issued by the institute. Rather, on the first day of their annual program, the students and teachers have a casual discussion and they just set up their own rule book, that what they will follow in the class, what they will not accept in the class, and they just paste that rule book on the wall so that they all stay aware about it. And in order to be more engaging, although this is not always so possible, but still, what options people have followed in other countries or in some big universities also, they use some signals in the class. Like I have observed that in several places, they create three different bulbs three different color LEDs in the classroom, red, green, and blue, or some other color, whatever they find. And they have a specific indication for each one of them. So when a teacher want complete silence in the class, they just turn on the red bulb, and that is a signal for all the students that we have to be silent because certain important topic is coming up. When you want to allow students to discuss something with their side peers, a small whispering conversation, if you want to allow, they can just turn on the yellow bulb or the blue bulb, and the students can interact with each other on the specific topic that is given to them. And when you want students to have open discussions, then they just turn on the green bulb, and students are allowed to have open discussions. They can be loud also, they can just talk to each other sitting anywhere out, and they can just come out with new ideas out of that. Although these are very simple things to implement in the classroom environment. So this is how we can just establish a behavior, how we can set some guidelines for them. And when we have this kind of interactions with the students, they feel more connected. They definitely feel more responsive with the subject as well as with the teacher out there. You have to establish a guideline about when using phones is okay and not okay. We cannot just directly say that don't use your phone. We cannot just shout on them that don't use your phone. One thing I told you, that right when you start, just put your phone on silent and in front of your students and give them example that this is the way we have to deal with it, and give them instruction as well. And at the same time, if sometime in your classroom the phones are necessary, like maybe when you have to use a calculator from the phone, or maybe when you have to allow students to search something on the Google immediately to get responses for something, so that establishment of guidelines you can do at that time, so that they can just understand that this technology or the gadget that they have in their hand, there is a right way to use that also. So that example we have to create over there. And similarly, there should be a mutually understood concern for every discussion. There should be a set of expectations for your classroom culture that everyone has to follow, students as well as teachers. Now we come to one important part, punishments. Many of us enter into this phase when we get totally frustrated with the student behaviors. We have the last option to punish them. But sometimes what happens, we end up punishing entire class when the nuisance is created by just a few of them, and we just create a bad example in front of the students. So we just need to identify things carefully first, that from where the problem is originated, how it may have ignited, or what we can do to solve it, instead of just punishing students directly. This one option, shouting directly that stop talking and disrupting other students. Instead of saying this, we can be positive. Do you have any question? So whenever you see a group of students talking with each other, instead of just shouting on them, just try to see if they have something to discuss. Just try to ask if they have something in their mind about this topic that you are discussing. Similarly, instead of being loud on paying attention and just ghosting them with the specific words listed out here, you can use other way. Do you need help focusing? This is a positive attitude that we are establishing in front of them. And the same they are going to reflect back. Because when we go ahead with these green tick marks, we create a positive association, and we give students time to reflect their ideas and their doubts and their confusions. But when we go ahead with these cross marks, students feel depressed and they are not going to ask the confusions that they are having in their mind. It is not always that they are having some unnecessary conversation with each other in the classroom. Sometimes they get stuck with something and they try to ask their peers about it instead of asking the teacher directly, because that gap is still there. So you have to reduce that gap, so that instead of being talking to each other, they can ask you directly. And next to this, we need to encourage initiatives. We need to promote a growth mindset, and we need to allow students to work ahead and deliver short presentations. We need to be interactive in the class. Instead of always teaching them, just give them opportunity to teach sometime. Just give them opportunity to feel that sense of responsibility as a teacher. You will observe this, that when you give your students an opportunity to speak up or give certain presentation, they will feel that sense of responsibility, that how they have to deliver, how effectively they have to engage. And if someone starts creating nuisance at that time, that also the teaching student will understand that if we do this kind of thing in the classroom, how teacher may feel. This is just leading by example. When you give them opportunity to take the lead role, they are going to put their fates in your shoe, and they are going to understand your situation. And this is how you brought up leaders from your classroom environment. This is not just about a specific chapters only, but sometimes some eager students are also in the classroom. Every time, every each one of you might have seen that there is a set of students who are least bothered about the class or whatever is going in the class, and there is a set of students who are proactive and they are eager to learn new things. So we just can create a balance between them. Maybe sometime you give a little extra work to the proactive students if they are willing to take it. Maybe you can give them an task to get an overview of next topic and allow them to discuss it in the beginning of the class, so that whatever they have just studied, they can confidently bring it out. And similarly to those who are little shy, maybe when you teach the topic, by the end of that you can give them opportunity also. There is two categories: one who are self learners, who are good to understand topics at their own and they are always curious to learn new things. So give them opportunity to describe it in the beginning with their short technique, with their short summary. And those who are little less confident about saying it, after you describe everything, then give them opportunity to say about it. So this is how you can create balance between both of them. And with time, you will say that all of them will come up with a confident mindset on the stage, and they will start putting up all their effort to present things very well. And we as a teacher cannot forget to offer praise to our students for their academic and behavioral performance. This is the biggest advantage we can have. And this is the way we can nurture a positive experience for our students as well. When we have sincere students, you can praise them for their efforts, their accomplishments. But similarly, when you have some problematic students, you can positively nurture them as well. So you can set examples in front of them by praising those who are doing good in the class. Do not just create a negative impact on those who are not able to do, because there may be so many reasons why some people are not able to perform. Maybe the subject is not so close to their interest, or maybe sometimes they are involved in some other projects, they are not able to concentrate on a specific topic. So there may be so many reasons. Instead of creating a negative impact, we can just start building some sense of accomplishments for each one of them. And while praising, we can inspire the entire class. We just try to build the self-esteem of the students who are performing well. And at the same time, for those who are not able to respond well, we can just reinforce the rules and values you expect to see in them. Just nurture them positively with the expectations that you have. And at the same time, if you find certain students having some extraordinary skills, that also we have in the classroom environment. If you find some students having some extraordinary skills, give them some extra time also, so that they can continue to use those tactics and they can be an example for other students as well, because all of them have their own good and bad qualities. So if you just nurture the good ones, the others will also be influenced with that, and they will also try to find new tactics to be engaged in the subject, to be active with the subject matter. And one more thing I will add here is, maybe later on also we'll come to that part. Sometimes teachers find it difficult to have attention span throughout the session for their students, like students get tired in the middle. So for this, there are few additional approaches you can use. I remember one of my teachers from the graduation who used to follow that approach, and he was favorite teacher for all the students out there. The biggest the best thing he used to do in the classroom is, he used to put up some questions by the end of the session. At present time, we can have the quiz tools for that. There are very easy to use quiz tools also, like quizzes you have, Google Forms you have, and students also have their mobile phones. They can attempt the quiz easily. Just one example that I have taken from my life. So what that teacher used to do, he used to ask certain questions by the end of the session, from the topic that he has taught in that particular session, and whoever is going to answer is going to get additional reward points that are counted in their internal marks later on. These reward points are always like alluring concept for the students, because many of them are experiencing lack of marks sometime due to not performing good in the internal exam, sometimes due to a bad response in the practical exams. So these reward points give them opportunity to recover their marks also, and it also increases their retention span. So following that behavior from my teacher, what I started doing while I became a teacher and I started taking sessions from the student, I love one tool, that is a quizzes tool. Maybe sometime in some different session we can talk about that tool in detail also. This is a easy to use online tool, AI powered tool, and it allows you to create quick quiz sessions, like 5-10 questions of your choice you can put depending upon what you are teaching today. Right in the beginning of the class, you just tell your students that we are going to conduct a quiz by the end, and it will include questions, whatever we are going to discuss throughout the session, and we'll just give 5 minutes by the end of the session to conduct that quiz. And at present, we have mobile phones, we have LCD screens, we have laptops in the classroom, so it is easier to conduct these quizzes. That quiz tool allow you to conduct quiz on the mobile phone directly. So you can throw that quiz, and whoever performs well in that quiz, maybe you can offer them additional reward points that will be included in their quiz, in their internal marks later on. So they will always be active in the classroom, because they know that this is their opportunity to grab some marks that will improve their percentage later on. And I have observed this in several classrooms, that whenever like when I take a week-long session, a week-long course for the students for data science, machine learning, different technologies, even if the students are complete beginners, when I start taking quiz by the end of the session, I find them highly participating in the class. Even if they do not get any concept, they are already aware that a question from this concept may come in the quiz by the end of the session. So I should ask my doubt quickly, because if that comes in the quiz, I'll be able to answer it fast. So that increases their retention span automatically. And you all can follow this approach. It doesn't take much time to create quiz. When you are preparing your session, you can just throw up 4 or 5 questions from there, and you can just prepare your quiz easily. There are plenty of easy to use tools for that, and you can increase the engagement with your students by using that solution. And similarly, sometimes we need to have non-verbal communication in the sessions. That may include different kind of strategies, especially when we have videos, infographics, physical objects, some audio sessions. So this is how we can take advantage of the technology here. We can use different things. We have a few days ago we have also talked about AR/VR technology, that how engaging sessions you can create by using that option. Similarly, we can use plenty of videos just to demonstrate a specific topic to the student. This is the benefit of technology we can take in the classroom environment. And similarly, giving rewards, this I have already discussed, that whenever they score well in the quiz by the end, or when they are able to answer your question by the end, you can just give them additional rewards for this. And we need to build excitement for the content or lesson plans. This is another important thing. So in order to do this, what we can try is we can give some thoughtful examples to them that connects them to a specific topic, like some role playing activities, or we can just ask them question and relate it to the specific topic. We can just give them some example and ask them how they feel it connected to a specific topic that you are going to teach or you have taught them. So just give them live examples so that they can connect with it. And sometimes we can even start with open-ended projects where they do not get a specific target, but they give an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge and their skills. And they can just interact with each other to share their knowledge. And if they get any difficulty in between, they can even interact with you. And these open-ended projects basically give them opportunity to open up their ideas. So just a reflection of whatever we have discussed: weekly quizzes or maybe session-wise quizzes, some reflection papers or homework we can give them to keep them engaged throughout the session. Similarly, we can ask them some problem-solving events, and we can help them to clarify concepts that they have not understood, and we can just get valuable feedbacks from them also. We can get acknowledgement on the specific topic through this activity. And grade class participation. This, again, one important thing. If some students are dull in the classroom environment, that is very challenging for the teacher. So just try to grade class participation also. How they interact, when they ask some good questions, when they participate in discussions, just give them additional rewards that you can use later on. Maybe like if you are not able to give 10 marks altogether, just give them half mark, 1 mark, 2 mark that they can use for their internals later on, and just put that in your register also, so that you can keep a track of everything. This gives them opportunity to be active, at least for the sake of reward. Even if they are not ready to participate directly, for the sake of reward, they are going to do it actively. And sometimes we need to flip the classroom by using some online lecture sources. Sometimes we can use the group activities, some case studies. These are the modern teaching approaches that you can follow by using your internet-based technologies. You can use some video lectures from maybe YouTube, or maybe you can use some AR/VR based content if it is possible in your institution. So all these things you can add in your system. About expectations, we have also talked earlier, and calling students by name, this thing also have talked about earlier. And active learning experiences by creating role plays and small groups, because sometimes students are not confident to ask when they are presenting something in the big classroom, when we have like 50, 60, 100 students over there. But when they are allowed to work in small groups, they feel more interactive and they are ready to establish new grounds for their work. So we just sometimes need to give them opportunity to work in small groups also, so that they can achieve their project outcomes. And similarly, we need to genuinely value their participation, and whenever they try to engage for something, even if they are wrong, we should not interrupt them directly that this is wrong, you should not say that. Rather, we should interact with them so that they themselves can discover the error in their answers. This is the best approach as a teacher you can follow, instead of just putting their confidence down. Just let them interact, just let them discuss the concept that they have understood. Maybe something is not conveyed right to them. If you give them opportunity to discuss whatever they have understood, you will find out that what I need to focus on more and what I need to repeat again, so that it can be clear to the student further. And we definitely need to give them more time to answer a specific question. This is one more additional thing we have to do is, so I'll just not go with the classroom management theories because we have lesser time. One question that is left to be answered, that someone was saying that students are talking more about AI. They are using AI to create their assignments or something like this. So the best thing I think for this you can do is just help them understand the disadvantage of this. Because what is the biggest challenge actually? Students feel that the technology is there to help them do their assignments, but what they are losing by using that technique, that as a teacher you need to help them understand. You need to help them understand that what they are getting directly from the chat GPT or AI based tool, if they do it with their own efforts, it is going to help them build more confidence on the topic. And also give them opportunity to have open discussion in the class, because there they do not have chat GPT, etc. When you have some written assignments, then they are going to use chat GPT over there. But when you have live discussions, they are going to use their own observations, their own thoughts, and that is going to ignite their behaviors. And then you can set up an example in front of them that if you use always chat GPT, you will not be open with the discussions out there. You will not be able to talk about the real concepts that you have understood from the guidelines over there. And then I have one more question over here. How to bring students in class? They don't even want to attend the class, and if they want to attend, there won't be any interest in the subject. So this is definitely a critical thing that as a teacher we may face. But first thing is we need to understand why they do not want to attend the class. This is definitely the first thing. Several times they do not have interest in the subject, and several times they do not have the interest in the teaching style of the teacher. There are two things that are the most common reasons for missing a class. Either they do not have interest in the subject, or they do not like the teaching style of the teacher. So one thing we can do on our personal note, first have an open discussion in the classroom that if students want you to have slight change in your teaching technique, and this should not be like an offensive thing for a teacher. You should be open to change the teaching style also, sometime for the sake of the welfare of your students. So have an open discussion about how they would like to take this particular subject, and the same pattern you can follow, because the end goal is to make them understand. If they are not able to understand the way you are following, you definitely can change your technique. The second thing is you need to help them build interest in the subject, and that is possible only if you help them understand what is the practical usability of this particular thing. And even if you add all the things, all the interactivity things that I have discussed throughout the session, that the rewards you are offering them that can be used in the internal marks, you are offering them open discussion in the classroom, not just about listening one way lecture, you are giving them opportunities to interact with each other. At the side by side with the subject, you are giving them opportunity to develop their personality also. If everything looks engaging for a student in the classroom, they will definitely come to attend your classes. Sometimes I have seen students who have no interest in the subject, but still they attend class because they like the way of teaching of the teacher. And with that impact only, they get, with time, get connected with the subject also. So if your teaching technique is effective and it connects well to the students, they will definitely with time give more response to your subject as well. And how can instructor address the diverse learning needs of the student in a higher education setting. So diverse learning needs, definitely this is a big challenge for all the teachers. But the best way is right when you start your semester, right when you start your subject, as I told right in the beginning, on the first day itself, you need to help them understand what is the importance of this topic, and then help them set the teaching technique. Just have an open discussion with them, because some students are good with the direct PowerPoint based presentations. They understand everything from there. Some students need additional discussion points. Some students need audio visual aids to understand subject, and some students are more concerned about what is written in the books. So we as a teacher need to incorporate all these teaching styles. And how we can do that? As I told you, maybe if you like to put PPTs in front of the students, you can use that in your classroom. But along with that, at least in the beginning of the session and by the end of the session, give additional time for discussions, for quizzes, and for the presentation from the student side. If they have something to discuss, just spare 5-10 minutes in the beginning and in by the end. And at the same time, maybe if you have 3 classes a week, maybe 2 classes you take with all your PPTs that you prefer, but sometime at least 1 class in a week, or maybe any specific time in a week, you can give to the students, where you can use audio visual aids, when you can just describe things on the blackboard or whiteboard in your classroom. Just give them opportunity to interact openly, just not just by staring on the PPT. That will help you to understand their requirements with time. You just need to learn that how they feel connected with the subject, and those things you have to incorporate with the given time duration that you have for the weekly classes. I feel this is the best way you can interact with them. Do not just follow your own way of teaching, just try to incorporate things from their perspective also. That will give you the best connectivity opportunity. I can see one more question. How can technology be effectively integrated into classroom management without causing distractions? Definitely. Distraction is the biggest challenge, but in order to integrate technology, few examples I have already given in the classroom environment, that you can allow your students to use their mobile phones when you run a quiz for them. From the mobile, they can participate in the quiz directly, because there are several applications that allow you to run quiz on the phone directly. So you can just start it from your screen, and they can participate it from their mobile phones directly. Similarly, you can integrate the audio visual aids directly. And also, there is one more factor that you need to many of you might have to understand. When we talk about AI generated content, if you just go with the reports that we have, or recent studies that are published on some authenticated magazines and journals, it is observed that even the chat GPT content is not so accurate most of the time, because it just take references from some random sources that it finds online. You need to demonstrate that drawback to the students also, that this is not the accurate way of learning. Rather, you need to help them understand the right sources. Instead of using chat GPT, just give them some valid websites that they can use for understanding a specific topic. Like, for example, I prefer few websites like Towards Data Science and Medium. There are some technological websites that we can follow for content. So you can yourself give them good references, instead of allowing them to follow some bad references from the technology. At the same time, you can help them understand about some relevant applications or some relevant video series that can connect them to a specific subject. So instead of them having more time on some random resources on their phone or laptop, they can follow the right resources over there. And also, you need to establish examples in front of them by using technology accurately. Like AI, you can use to establish some brainstorming sessions for them, some quizzes for them. So just tell them that what is the right way to use technology, instead of generating content directly from there. And let them understand that what is the purpose of giving you assignment. If you do it directly from ChatGPT or AI, what is the disadvantage of that? And if you do it yourself, what is the advantage of them? And more importantly, when you give them an assignment, do not just get a submission of assignment directly and just give marking over there. Just spare some time, like 15 minutes or 20 minutes in your classroom, where students can have an open discussion about their assignment. Maybe they have found some problem, maybe they have invented something new from that assignment or the question that you have given, or maybe they have some new confusion in their mind. When we just give them directly some assignment, we just take it, we just give marking, that is like a closed approach. Students do not get time to understand the value of that assignment. But when we give them opportunity to discuss about all those things that we have listed in the assignment, they find it more engaging. They will feel more responsible, that I just do not have to copy and paste content in my assignment, rather I have to understand it, because we have to discuss it next day in the classroom. Even if you cannot discuss it with all 60 students in one go, maybe you can create 3-4 groups of the student, and you can take like 10 minutes 20 minutes in every class, and group wise activity you can conduct, and you can discuss that assignment. So that will give them more opportunity to understand every part of it clearly, and they will feel more sense of responsibility to submit it.